Hello and welcome to the NFC 360 post-match for the Bournemouth game. Joining me is Ben, aka John Joe Shelby. Nice day back.
Thanks, Alan.
First thing
First
that
time I
stopped
don't
me.
wear a hat, and this is what I get. Nice.
Well, it's a shame you're not Matt. I'm not Matt Ritchie. I'll probably slap you on the head or something.
This was a full head of hair before this game.
Yeah. Wow. How you doing?
What?
How you feeling?
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Trying to take that in and contemplate whether it was a bad result or whether it was just a bad day. Like, I'm still in the back of my head is whether it's if we're much better than we were with Steve Bruce. So it's kind of in one sense it's nice that we're dominating the game, having 73 possession and being mad about it. It's very different and very far removed to where we were last season. But the result was terrible. We can't hide that. But we've got to be beating teams like Bournemouth, really. I mean, no disrespect to them, but they've just come up. We've spent a load of money. We're playing good football. We should be able to beat them. But it's a little worrying that we weren't able to. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the day in general?
I mean, before we went on air, I said to you, it felt like similar to the Palace game. It felt I just felt so drained. And I don't know. It seems so difficult to break down the opposition. And later, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what my thoughts are too. We should have won. We didn't, but it was still come a long way in a short amount of time. But am I mad that we didn't win? Yeah. Am I worried that we didn't win? A little bit, but it's better than it was for Bruce.
It is worrying like that. That's 5 draws out of 7 games.
Yeah, it was. And, I don't know. When, to be honest, and I mentioned again before we came on, when I saw that lineup, and especially the bench, I wasn't that confident. I was happy to have Bruno back. I thought he was rusty. I don't think he had his best game, but the lineup worried me. And I'm not sure what was. I haven't heard anything about Sven Botman, but Dan Burn worries me a little bit at centre back. He's done great since he's come in. We can't I'm not going to criticize him. I think he's done really well. Botman is a class above, and Dan Burn against Liverpool with Lascelles, I kind of understood that. Right, it's going to be a low block, it's going to be physical, and then we're going to hit them on the break or try to, and it almost worked. Botman against a team like Bournemouth, where we're going to dominate possession, we did something like 73%, I think it was. It makes so much more sense to have someone who's a much more ball-playing centre-back alongside Cher, and I think Botman's positioning is much better. And I think Burn was probably at fault for the goal that they scored. I think Botman probably tracks the man a lot better. So that worried me a little bit. No Anderson on the bench, no Maxi, no Shelby, obviously, no Wilson was the other one.
That bringing on Murphy again is a concern.
Yeah, well, there's no depth. I mean, we're not starting Murphy, we're not starting Richie, which is light years ahead of where we were last season. But still, if our ambitions aren't the same as last season, when we now want to be a top, I think most of us think we're going to be a top 8 team. Not if we keep playing like that. And I think it's the transfer window coming back to haunt us a little bit. Now 50 million for Maddison after we've spent 65 or whatever it was on Isak doesn't look like a bad deal. The 50 million that I think it was for Diaby initially doesn't look like a bad deal now. There's probably 3 or 4 games where those 2 players would have made the difference, or one of those 2 players might have made the difference. And I think that's costing us a little bit, but it's their first big transfer window. But I think it's a problem, and it's kind of ruined its head now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a real worrying sign with the lack of creativity, I would say. It almost felt like there was only plan A, which was to go to the wings and pass the ball around and try and score. And in the end, it ended up being a penalty for us to only score, and it wasn't even from open play.
Again, though, we're relying too much. Last week or the week before against Palace, all right, that was a bit of a travesty. It should have been a goal all day. But we're relying on a VAR decision. And it would have been a goal from open play. But, aside from that, we didn't break them down. We had a bunch of opportunities, but we didn't score. Same thing again today. Today was worse, though. We didn't have the clear-cut opportunities. Okay, Jolinton hit the post. Trippier hit the post on the outside of the post from a free kick. But we weren't, I wouldn't say we were peppering them. I think the keepers made not really one good save, I think. The rest of it was all catches and just something he swept up and collected. I don't remember him being that busy. And that is a huge problem. We don't break teams down. When we play against bigger and better teams, when they attack us more, then, we're really good in transition. Bruno and Jolinton especially, winning the ball back in midfield and then setting off our kind of more attacking players. That's when we kind of come into our own. But when they have 10 behind the ball or 9 behind the ball and it's a low block, we haven't got the players. Maxi's probably the player you need in that game because he can beat 1 or 2 and it opens the rest of the pitch up, pulls people from other positions. Murphy isn't doing that. Fraser isn't doing that. Miggy can, but then he has to cut back onto his left. So we saw him. I thought, again, he had a great game, taken off again, but it's just the right foot problem. It's that split second when he has to pull it back, put a cross in or lay it off, and it's just we've lost it by that point. So, yeah, total lack of creativity against a low block. I'm kind of looking forward to playing slightly better teams because I think our results will improve. I think it's these teams are going to come and defend. We're going to struggle against them for another season, I'd have thought, until we have players who can come in and City don't struggle that much because they've got great players in all positions. They can break people down over time. We've got 1 or 2 or 3 good players, but you need them everywhere. So if if the block goes to the left and everyone kind of closes down Maxi, you switch it to the right and you've got somebody who's equally as good who can take players on and beat them, and that creates the space. We don't have that. So it's going to be a while, but it's a work in progress. But it's still worrying that we're not picking up the results. Well, what did you think of Bruno today?
I mean, he definitely looked rusty, and I think we're just too reliant on him as well. Everything goes through him, and if he's taken out of the game, then everything is gone. I mean, the moment Longstaff came in, I didn't remember anything happening other than losing the ball. And even when Chris Wood came on, there was no service. There wasn't a change of plan. It was just the same old plan A. There wasn't a plan B of maybe lump loads of balls into the box, see if he gets his head on the end of it. There wasn't any plan B. So that was really worrying.
Sorry. Yeah, I feel like he came on too late as well, a little bit. We were getting some joy in the wide areas and putting crosses in, and then it kind of dried up towards like the late 80th minute. And that's when he came on. So for me, I thought, given the way the game was panning out, at least on 80 minutes bring him on. It was almost 10 minutes later than that. I don't remember it. I don't think he even had a touch. But yeah, it's a worry. It's so slow and pedestrian. Okay, you're playing against 10 defenders essentially, but it has to move faster. And if we can see that, Howe must be like pulling his hair out, that it has to move faster. And it's this constant cutting back that is that frustrates me. I'll be honest, I really thought Willock had a poor game. I don't know what he does. And I put this in the chat and I haven't checked it, but I think I got some messages about it. I don't think he's had a good game this season. And I don't really know what he does. To me, he's arriving late in the box, kind of like box-to-box midfielder. But at the minute, in my opinion, he doesn't do the defensive side of box-to-box very well. And he's definitely not doing anything in the attacking side of box-to-box very well. So I would probably have started Longstaff and then pushed Bruno further forward and swapped Bruno out with Willock.
I completely agree with you because when you take out the goals, from Joe Willock, that's it. And what else does he offer? He carries the ball going forwards. Jolinton does that.
Yeah. Tracking
back, he's not great at that either. So what is his purpose in the team? I still
Joe Willock. What does he do? And it's hard to be too critical. I think it's probably a big change from Steve Bruce. Again, I keep mentioning him, and I shouldn't. But it's with Bruce, he was the Willock was the man, and he had that incredible game run of games where he scored so much, and he looked a threat. But he looked a threat at the end of games, and I think from the 75th minute, he generally does look good off the bench. He can make a difference because he does have legs. I don't rate him starting a game. I don't think he brings enough to the table. And I think a game like this where you need that intricate pass, I think we've seen that Longstaff can do that. Like the goal against Liverpool, for example, the goal against Arsenal last season where that little through ball for Wilson. So Longstaff does have that. Willock doesn't. And Willock running into space and running onto the end of things is great, but it's not going to happen against a lower block of 10 men or 9 men, as it was in most of this case. So I think that was a poor decision. I'm not sure, I mean, what Howe was thinking with it. You know, maybe there's something like that I've totally missed there, probably. But yeah, I think he had a bad game. And if Bruno is coming back and he's going to be fit, I would expect or I hope to see Willock as the replacement. Where that might change would be, you know, if we're playing against like a top 6 team and we need those legs in midfield, he's a lot more mobile than Longstaff is. But yeah, I don't want to pinpoint him too much as the problem, but I just thought everything that went through him today was poor. He didn't really do much. But
yeah, decision making really as a team, decision making was pretty poor today, and it really showed.
Yeah.
What do you make of the boos at the end?
It's kind of the point that what I mentioned when we started in the initial feelings on it. I get it, but I also know where we were like this time last year. I mean, not even this time last year. Was it October 14th or something, the takeover? Then we got Howe, and we weren't even any good until December, January, when we first started to win a game and started to play well. We had years of being awful under Ashley, a couple of years of being particularly awful during Bruce. So I don't want to believe that Howe isn't the answer, because we've come on so much already, and we're also missing players. But at the same time, we have to be better. We can't keep drawing that many games. And the fact that we're not making big opportunities apart from maybe a corner, and all the Jolinton effort that hit the post, that came from, I think, a knockdown from a corner or like a scramble after a corner. Everything we've done, like the Trippier free kick, again, like set piece, we're not opening up teams in open play. And so I get why fans are getting frustrated. I don't think the boos were necessary. I think it's more frustration against the whole day. It was, you know, I saw yesterday War Flags saying that they weren't going to do their display today. I mean, yeah, they wanted to mark like the Queen and let the club do their thing and not take anything away from that. I'm not sure that was a great decision. I think it affected the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere was flat all game. Obviously, I'm watching on TV, but I had the volume way up, and all I could hear was the Bournemouth fans. You know, you could hear that, like, there's 1,000, 2,000 of them. You could hear them every time they booed Ryan Fraser. You could hear it clearly. So there wasn't much atmosphere from the home end. I think the whole thing was flat, and I think it's probably just frustration of a whole day and of again drawing. I think he needs to get a win, but I think he's probably got a bit of time. I don't see the owners as being rash. I don't think they'll fire him. But it's definitely asking questions now. Is that he's been here 10 months? It's the first time he's had to really kind of probably answer some questions. And I don't like this all one win in as 8, right? Like, as they were talking about today, like, it's only 1 in 7. It's like everything's different. Everything feels so different, but it is still there. It is still 1 win in 8. And at home against Bournemouth, it should at least be 2 wins in 8. Home against Palace, it should probably be 3 wins in 8. You know, if you have 3 wins in 8 and you've played City and Liverpool, you can probably understand that. But it's, 1, and having played 2 of the 3 relegated teams, a couple of mid-table teams, that's not good enough. So I hope it gets better, but yeah.
I thought the boos were really, really harsh, and I just, in my opinion, I feel it's an expectations thing. Yeah, I think maybe since the takeover, a lot of fans' expectations have been maybe been adjusted to the too extreme a level, expecting things to happen too soon, and then we draw against Bournemouth, and then some boos come out. So I think it would be really, really harsh to bring up the topic. To be honest, I mean, being the new Sir Alex Ferguson, and it's a long-term project. And
do you think it's added pressure given the fact that Tuchel and Pochettino are on the market?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, would they even join? That's the question.
I mean, I think
Because I don't feel
Pochettino,
we're their level of, club yet. Just like talk of Conte last time. We're not there yet. We're not a
no,
Champions
not for
League team. We're
Conte.
not a top 16 yet.
I think Pochettino is probably more interesting, given that we have money and we have some good players, and it's a project. And what he did with Spurs was a project. PSG, I think it's clear that he's not that guy that goes in and just manages like megastars. I think he needs to grow something. So that one would probably be the one that would be the closest to what we're trying to do. I mean, yeah, whether he'd be interested, I don't know, but I think it asks a question, and I think that's not helpful. And what the media is going to make out of it. They're going to be, because it's Newcastle, because it's the money, because it's Saudis, they're going to make a big deal out of it. They're going to put pressure on Howe because they want to, and probably because the team deserves a little bit of it. But yeah, I'm a little worried about.
Well, I think TalkSport were already giving us some crap about our start to the season. So this was before the match today. So I can imagine more is going to come.
Yeah. So to turn the question back to you, what do you think we need to change? If you're Eddie Howe, what does he need to change for the next game?
Needs to have more than a plan A. He needs to have a plan B and a plan C. It's getting very predictable. The past few matches have been, whenever we haven't been able to score, there doesn't seem to be any switch in tactics. It's just a switch in player, but the same tactics. And of course, we are missing, Maxi and Wilson and Shelvey and, a fit Bruno and, Botman as well. But I mean, tactically, we're just too one-dimensional, I would say. What do you think?
So if plan A is Maxi, and it seems to be that way still, against City, he was incredible. Against Palace, everyone tried to put everything through him. I think was it Palace? I don't know. I can't remember. Was he injured for Palace? I don't remember. But everything still seems to be that give it to Maxi for the most part. But the rest of the team is performing much better. But if that is still plan A, then you're right. What is plan B? Because we still put it out to the wing. We just don't get the end product, or we don't get someone to make the difference like Maxi does and create the space. So yeah, I think you're right. A plan B would be good, but then what is plan B? Chris Wood, long balls, a lot more crosses. We're crossing the ball as it is, and it's not getting to anyone. Isak's not that guy in terms of a physical number 9 who's going to challenge and beat people in the air. He's much more technical on ball on the floor. It's kind of worries me how we get him into the game more. So I think that would be, I'm not a football manager, thankfully, but that would be for me the big question. I think defensively in midfield we're not bad. It's how do we get those front 3 into better positions and get Isak on the ball somewhere where he can be dangerous, and then just hope that Maxi gets back pretty fast.
Yeah, but Isak was very isolated today, and we've got Fulham next.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, it should be a win, but so Earthling Carl said, our team is currently top 10 at best. We need at least 4 more players of ASM and Bruno quality to get top 7. Would you agree with that? I mean, I agree that
I would agree with that.
I'd agree Bruno and ASM are definitely top 7 quality. 4 more, do you think? Would that make the difference? 2 more?
I mean, I think the 4 more includes our star players coming back, not necessarily new signings. I mean, we've been hit majorly by at least 3 to 4 of our key players not playing. So I would say that's getting them back will really see, who we truly are.
Yeah. And then Matty Roundtree, can't understand why we didn't sign a midfielder and winger in the summer, which we just took. Yeah, we touched, unless there's another freebie hanging around with Carrier somewhere that would make a difference. But yeah, we touched on it a little earlier. I think this is one of the problems. I think that winger today, if we'd have got Diaby or someone who could play out there in a similar role, it would have been a day where we could have, made a difference. I think having somebody on the right who can actually use his right foot. I love Miggy. I think he's having a good season so far. but it frustrates me that he can't use his right, and it's that split second that having to cut back all the time just allows the defense to get back into position. So yeah, I think especially the winger. I think if we'd have got the winger, I'd have been really, really happy with the transfer window. I'm really happy with it anyway, but it would have been perfect, I think. But yeah, and then the 11 meters. Come on, lads. AFC, Bournemouth part of the bus. They defended like demons, and we were pedestrian. Let's kill a pass.
This is a really interesting comment because that's just why we need a plan B. If there's a side that's going to defend against us for 90 minutes, what are we going to do?
Exactly. I think it falls totally back into what we were saying about A, the lineup, and B, also the transfer window. That they did defend well, but if you have somebody on the right who can do the same as what Maxi can do on the left, it opens the field up. Another central midfielder would have been nice as well. But then again, Shelby coming back, I think, would have made a difference. He moves the ball faster than Willock does. He can pick a pass better. So they did defend well, and there was a low block for pretty much the most of the game. But it is that killer pass that's the problem. It's that's the issue that we face. But Eddie Howe now needs to find a way to get around that. And then,
well, hopefully, some time on the training ground between now and the international break to fix whatever we need to fix for the Fulham match. We get to see Mitrovic again.
Yeah, our boy Mitro. And then Tommy P, finally, as a Bournemouth fan, it was very satisfying to hold the Mags to a draw, considering how many pundits had you beating us 3-0 or 4-0. Still, hope Newcastle and Eddie the best for the rest of the season. Thanks, Tommy. I heard John Gibson on the Chronicle podcast saying he thought it was going to be a 3-0 walkover. And then I forget the guy's name that he hosts that with. He was saying it was going to be much more close to a 1-1, 2-1, which happened to be much more the case. I thought Bournemouth might come out as more, which would have opened the space up. But we never used to do that. We don't do that against a lot of teams, or didn't used to when we were very defensive either. So they had a plan. They stuck to it. It worked. For us, frustrating. For them, it's a good point. And I thought they were pretty disciplined. And that new manager, the interim manager, seems to be doing a good job. I'm not sure if he's in the running for it, but I thought they played pretty well. But from a Newcastle perspective, we probably feel we should have beaten them, but oh well.
We'll go and have 5 pints to drown our sorrows.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 9:53 a.m. for me, so it might be 9 coffees, but yeah. All right,
everybody. Thanks for joining us, and yeah, international break, so we won't be playing until the 1st of October against Fulham.
Again, another 2 week.
A long wait.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back with 3 points from Fulham, though, right?
Fingers crossed.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.